Hey guys, just a heads up that in today's episode we talk about a painting with a little bit of blood and a little bit of violence, so viewer discretion is advised. Thank you.
Hey,
Hey,
what's up?
not much.
We just watched Mary Poppins. Actually, I just watched Mary Poppins for the first time.
That's true.
And everybody was always cranky at me for not having watched it before.
Because it's really good.
Yeah, that's what everybody's like, wow.
Why do you just like automatically don't like movies that you've never seen?
Because I'm different.
No, that's not different. That's psychotic.
Because I'm biased.
So you mean you've seen maybe like a couple hundred movies, right?
I actually have no idea.
So a fraction of those you like because there's some movies that you've seen that you dislike, but every other movie in the world
Ew.
you dislike because you've never seen it?
Yeah,
What?
I'm a hater.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
Anyway, I watched Mary Poppins, and it was pretty good. I liked it.
Which is your favorite character?
Mary Poppins?
You can't say that. Everybody's favorite character is Mary Poppins.
Yeah.
It's the titular role.
Well, Well, actually, my favorite character is that guy on the boat that's always, like, being loud.
You mean the guy on the building?
Yeah.
Who's firing
who
a
thinks
cannon
he's on a
every
boat.
hour?
Yeah.
That's got to be illegal. That's got to be disturbing the peace or
Yeah,
something.
how has he not, like, gotten arrested for that?
Honestly.
Who's your favorite character?
My favorite character...
Mary Poppins?
No.
Why? Because you're different?
My favorite character is one of the farm animals who sings It's a Jolly Holiday with Mary.
You literally only chose that because you want to be different.
No.
Welcome to Gallery. Okay,
What are you talking about?
a painting.
What era is it from?
Right before Impressionism. So I guess realism.
Is that realism?
The painter I'm
right?
talking about is a realist painter.
Okay.
So I'm gonna say realism, and he, I mean, it's around the time where Impressionism was just starting to get introduced, and so I'm sure that he was influenced
Okay.
in some ways by it. But he's a realist painter.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Cool. I don't know if I have many guesses because I'm way more familiar with Impressionism and Post-Impressionism than I am with what happened right before it.
Van Gogh boy.
Yeah, that's me. Why did you... Okay. Tell me about it. You want to get started or...
Yeah, I'll just get started. I'll give you some clickbait.
I love clickbait.
Verbal clickbait.
Love it.
Ready?
Yes.
It is the first painting to be censored for the Russian Empire. Censored. Like, they wouldn't let people come see it. Because they said,
The Russian Empire?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do I know it?
Yeah.
I know this painting?
I'm sure you do. Everybody knows it. Or at least everybody's seen it.
Okay.
And
Give
for
more
context, it's one of those icky paintings that
Icky.
you're like, wow, this makes me feel horrible.
It's not Saturn eating his son, right?
No, but I was going to bring that up. I was
Okay.
like, Francisco Goya.
Is it by Francisco Goya?
No.
Okay.
It's very similar.
Okay.
And so, and there's a couple of parallels I want to draw between Saturn eating his son, which is a horrible painting.
That painting's awesome.
It's like horrific. It's one of those like paintings that you're just like, oh my gosh, what am I looking at? This is dark. This is morbid. This is awful.
Yeah.
And then there's the painting that I want to talk about.
Oh,
It
okay.
is Ivan the Terrible and his son.
Okay.
Do you know that one?
I don't think I need to see it.
I'll show it to you right now. So why you take a little gander at that?
I've never seen this.
Huh?
Yeah, I've never seen it.
What? Okay, then you have a lot to look at. Wait, actually, give me your first impressions of it as
Dude,
someone.
this is
You're the
freaking
only person in the
sweet.
world that's never seen this painting.
That's not true. This is awesome. It's definitely realism.
Mm-hmm.
It definitely is giving Saturn eating his son vibes, but it looks a little more somber rather than like gross and horrifying. But it is also horrifying. Audio listeners, what you're looking at is basically Ivan the Terrible, obviously, in I don't know, I want to say like, not like a monastery. It looks like a church, probably.
I don't
A
know
church
the
or his
location.
room-
I think it's just in the castle.
In a
technically.
castle. And he's holding his son, and his son is obviously very much dead or dying or in pain. And they both kind of look like shocked and dazed and appalled. In the room, it looks like there's been kind of a scuffle in the room a little bit. The carpet's bunched up a little bit.
So you're describing a story here,
Yeah.
which is really interesting. Can you see what happened?
Obviously something with this staff or
The scepter, the murder weapon is right there. Oh, I said murder.
did he kill his son?
He killed his son.
Is this a true story?
Yes.
Okay.
More on that later.
Okay.
Okay, I am so glad that you are someone who's never seen this painting before, and you were able to look at it and see that there's a clear story here.
Yeah.
And that's one of the first things that I wanted to bring up. I love movies.
Indeed.
And movies are often 24 or 48 frames per second.
What does it have to do with this? Interesting.
Buckle up.
Okay.
And that really means it's 24 pictures in 1 second, and that's what's giving you a story. And there's lots of seconds, and there's lots of pictures, and that's how you get a beginning, middle, end. That's how
Yes.
you get character. That's how you get passion and compassion and tension. All of the story elements that are necessary to make a good story.
Yeah.
That brings me to the incredible skill of Ilya Repin, who created this, of painters who are able to create a story, a beginning, middle, end, tension, passion, all in one frame.
Yeah.
Just one picture.
Okay.
And so, as you can see, there's a lot going on here. And that's kind of what's so cool about this picture, or this painting, is that you can see a beginning and middle and end, and you can see exactly what's happening.
Yeah.
The story behind it, there's a couple of different versions of why Ivan the Terrible chose to kill his son. And, like, we know that Ivan the Terrible was a czar, and he had only this son. He was the only heir. And there's a couple of different stories, like Ivan the Terrible beat up his son's wife, and his son was like, "Stop beating up my wife," and then he ends up killing his son. There's lots of random stories. We don't really know what happened,
Right.
but we do know that Ivan the Terrible did murder his son.
Right.
And this is a depiction of that moment.
Yeah.
But another interesting thing about this painting is that this is a depiction of, after the moment. This is the, oh my gosh, what have I done?
Yeah.
I have to live with this for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
It's the reflection, it's the remorse. And I'll have you look at it again. One of my favorite parts of the painting is the expressions on their faces. On Ivan the Terrible's face, you can obviously see horror, maybe at what he's done or what he now has to live with. And from the room, you can tell there's obviously been a scuffle. This was obviously something done in a fit of rage. And you see change in Ivan's face from rage to remorse.
Yeah.
Or horror, and, just that awful, awful feeling. And it causes us as the audience members to almost pity him and give compassion to him, even though he is a cold-blooded murderer.
Yeah, I think that's why I think that's why my very first guess wasn't him. He murdered his son. He doesn't look like he murdered his son at first glance. He looks like he's a genuinely, like, mortified parent. But then obviously you think about it for a couple minutes and you learn the history. And I think it really captures a feeling that you don't see captured in paintings a lot.
That's why I talked about the expressions so much, and that's kind of why I brought up, like, Francesco Goya, is just the incredible ability of people to capture emotion in one frame.
Yeah.
And it's also why I brought up change. That's what stories are for, like, of character development and stuff. You see character development in one frame right here.
Yeah, you do.
Which is something that's really cool.
Yeah. Are you done with that thought?
Yeah, what were you going to say?
Well, I just kind of want to talk about it artistically a little bit because some things are popping out at me. There's a really good use of contrast between the dark coat of the dark coat of Ivan's dark coat and his son's very light pink salmon colored robe, because it really, really, really emphasizes what happened. You have a dark background, and Ivan is wearing a dark shirt. So his body isn't the first thing that's visible. What does pop out, though, is his light face up against his dark clothing and the dark background. And also, the son's clothing is probably the lightest thing in the whole image. And so first thing you see is this mortified face, and then you look at your eye goes through and you look at what else happened, and you're like, oh, shoot. In addition, there's a lot, his body is twisted and so weird. It's creating a lot of really anxiety-inducing diagonal lines, which is really important.
If we're talking about movement, let me take you through a little bit about how this painting was created.
Okay.
There's a couple differences, mainly between the sketches and the final product, two of which are that in the sketches, Ivan is holding the scepter as he holds his son.
Okay.
So you can obviously see that he was the murderer and stuff. But in the final sketch, he chose to have the scepter dropped on the floor away.
Yeah.
And in the second main noticeable thing is that in his sketches, the pool of blood, do you see that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the pool of blood is very, very visible.
Oh, wow. I didn't even see the drips going away from his hand. Holy freak.
And in the final version, the pool of blood is a little bit more obscured.
Yeah. And
so I think those are very notable. And then speaking of movement, you can tell, I mean, everything in this shot is completely perfectly placed. And that pool of blood being right there shows that that's where his son fell. Yeah. That's where he was bleeding, right on his head. And you can see it almost in your head, the exact way that his father lifted up his hand, is trying to push his hand hard against the head to stop the bleeding, but you can see that the blood is gushing out through his fingers. And so it creates more of the story because of that movement. You can see how everything happened.
Yeah, you can definitely tell that he whacked him and then he fell right there. You can see the toss of the scepter aside, and you can see how, Ivan's grabbed him, and you can kind of see this almost resistance, because Ivan's embracing his son's not embracing him back. A, probably because he's in shock, but B,
dying.
I wouldn't want to do that, and dying, and I would be like, don't hold me right now.
Zoom into the son's face. You can see one tear coming out.
Oh my gosh.
And a lot of people think there's very many interpretations. Some people say that tear means it's forgiveness and he's forgiving his father mid-act. Some say that it's betrayal and shock.
Wow.
And, how could you do this to me? At the same time, the father is saying, how could I do this to you?
Yeah. And there's so much empty space. I mean, you don't see too many paintings, at least in the mainstream, where the subjects are right smack in the middle. Everyone's always like, rule of thirds. Yeah, that's great. But symmetry is not symmetry, but things in the middle are cool too. And I think that really creates this kind of dissonant void around them of this empty space. Because I'm zooming it in to look at it on my iPad. And I'm like, oh, this is a cool painting with, a nice focus on the figures. And then I zoom out and see the whole thing. And I'm like, this is like a moment in time.
That brings me to talk about the difference in our viewing versus anyone who would have seen it. The real thing. Yeah. You should know that this painting is massive. It's 78 inches by 100 inches.
That is massive.
It's
oil?
pretty dang big. It's oil on canvas.
Yeah, it looks like it.
And I imagine that it would do the same thing. If you walked straight up to that painting, you would have to, and I say it cringily, zoom out or zoom in on certain pieces of the painting because you can't take it in all at once.
Yeah, you have to walk around side to side and take in the whole thing.
And after you see first those faces, which are the most capturing pieces of the painting, your eye is drawn, of course, to the scepter, to the wrinkled rug, which is wrinkled in multiple directions.
Yeah.
There isn't just one half-baked. The artist was like, oh, I gotta wrinkle this because there was a scuffle. It feels like Ilya Repin was really trying to put himself in this moment. And it is also interesting to note that the throne in the back, which could just be a chair, is toppled, meaning that, Russia doesn't have a successor now. There is no heir to be a czar, because this was the only heir. Let me go to my notes. Okay. And I wanted to give you a little bit of background on Ilya Repin himself.
Okay.
I think this is the funniest part. He's a portrait painter.
Wow.
Can you tell?
Interesting.
He's very good at faces and expressions.
Yeah, he is.
And he painted over 300 portraits in his lifetime, and they were usually of notable figures of his time, like composers, artists, other artists, like political figures.
Yeah.
And this painting is interesting because this is 300 years ago for him.
Yeah.
The events of this painting.
Yeah.
And he says that the reason he decided to start painting it was because he had heard of the execution or the assassination of Alexander II, the Tsar at the time in Russia.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the 1800s, 1850s. And he sees all of these political figures executed, and it takes his mind back exactly 300 years ago to a Tsar killing someone else.
Yeah.
And he basically said that there was so much political tension going on that it took him back here, and it made him want to paint that. And so he used models that he knew to be the faces kind of for these people. And I think it all shines through. You can see that Ilya Repin is troubled by this.
Yeah. Man.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Because I don't really have anything more to add, honestly. I'm just kind of taking it in.
Seriously, it's something that you have to just take in. This is a quote from Repin himself about creating the painting. He said, "I painted in tears. I was tortured. I tormented myself. I corrected again and again what I had painted. I hid it in a sickly disappointment, no longer believing in my strength. I erased what I had painted. I had already erased, and I was attacking the canvas again. Every minute was terrible to me. I was disappointed with this painting. I hid it, and it made the same impression on my friends. But something pushed me towards it, and again I was working on it." So it doesn't seem like it was an easy process.
Yeah, dang.
For him anyway. And that, that also makes me think of there's so many painters that are painting for expression and pleasure and to create something beautiful and pretty. And this doesn't seem like a labor of love for Ilya. And I think that also shines through.
And that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
This is, I don't know if we're ready to move on yet, but this is a great segue into what I'm talking about today. So we can circle back to it when I talk about my thing. But, I feel like there's two sides of the spectrum where it's either like you're either tortured and you're either Vincent van Gogh, right? Or you're either like super like, I don't know, like you're super expressive and like happy about everything. And that's why you paint for the joy of life. And it's just not that simple. There's a lot of reasons to create. There's a lot of ways to express what you're feeling. And what's his name?
Ilya Repin.
Ilya Repin.
I don't know how to pronounce it.
Okay, Mr. Repin here. He had this harrowing experience with this bit of history and was so drawn to it that even though it was such a tough experience, he used paintings to kind of grapple with it, it sounds like.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a beautiful thing. That's kind of what art is all about, in my opinion.
It's true. And as an audience member, we kind of get to experience a little bit of that of ourselves. Yeah. It's kind of horrible to view.
Yeah.
And I think that's important.
Yeah.
There was actually a quote. One of the reviewers said, Ivan Kramovsky, he said that it seems that a human being, after having carefully looked at this painting, even if only once, will be forever protected from the wild beast he has, as they say, in him.
Yeah.
And so we, as audience members, we have this insane opportunity to change from this painting and to feel something and to almost experience the same things that Ilya experienced.
Yeah.
And even to take it even further to maybe even experience what Ivan experienced.
Yeah. It gives you a real sense of empathy. I was kind of talking earlier about how this painting captures like a really specific feeling of like, oh my gosh, what have I done? And I think when a lot of viewers see that, they'll relate to it in one way or another. And that's a powerful thing, not only to relate to something, but to relate to something hard and harrowing and sad.
Yeah. Paintings. So that was what I wanted to talk about today. It's one of those paintings that, you know, the first time that you see it, you kind of just don't forget it ever.
Yeah.
And I love that effect.
Yeah. But this is the kind of stuff that I feel like this is the kind of stuff that like people need to see. You need to like you need to have that protection that quote was saying from. You need to just like art like this just helps you experience new emotions and hard emotions, I think is what I'm trying to get at.
And I don't know how anyone could look at this painting in all of its huge glory and think, man, art is boring.
Yeah, right? Oh my gosh.
Especially because this tells a full story.
It transcends a painting. It transcends a canvas.
You feel so many things looking at it. And it doesn't even take like interpretation. You know, I feel that some modern art pieces are difficult to understand at first, but once you get like an understanding of them, they're a lot easier to feel things from. But
yeah,
this is one of those ones where you just look at it and you're like, wow, and then you look at it an hour later or 4 hours and you're like, wow, that's even more.
Yeah. In my opinion, the best art that I've seen is the art that makes me go, dang, when I first see it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When you see it and mentally you're like, oh,
dang.
Shoot. For better or for worse.
Yeah.
You know? Man, we picked some really synonymous topics today. Not synonymous, but
you chose Saturn eating his son.
I chose Saturn. No.
One day we have to go over that one because it's...
Yeah.
Man.
But
something.
Just you talking about someone, you know, facing what they're feeling and putting it on a canvas kind of goes with what I'm trying to get at with what I'm talking about.
That could be a lot of things.
I know. But we'll wrap it up.
Okay.
Just hear me out. Okay. Camille, do you like... how do you feel about learning about the history of the world? What about you know, dealing with existential stuff? Or even like maybe you want to change the world or change life or change how things work, but you just can't, and you kind of have to bloom where you're planted. How would you go about dealing with that or expressing that?
Are you talking about Bill Wurtz?
I am talking about Bill Wurtz.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because Bill Wurtz deals with all sorts of that, but we'll come to that later. Bill Wurtz is crazy. He in a good way. You're very familiar with him, but to those who
not
aren't,
nearly as you.
Wait, really?
Yeah. All I know is that he is a songwriter,
yes,
and his songs are on YouTube, and they have to do with very intense topics.
Yeah.
He goes over the history of the world and stuff, but he's very goofy when he does it.
Yeah.
His songs are very happy.
Yeah, so he is a musician and a video producer, extremely talented in both of those areas. And gosh, looking at him, you would just never guess. He's such a private guy, and he's so unabashedly himself in such a I don't want to be seen way that he's just amazing. He just it feels like he knows exactly what he's doing when you watch one of his videos or listen to one of his songs, because it's just so him. I have never seen anything like Bill Wurtz. And so what it is he kind of uses deadpan and kind of nonsensical lyrics with psychedelic graphics to deliver cheery songs about like really, really serious things. Mm-hmm. And that kind of results in this absurdist type of humor. He's almost, I would call him an absurdist. If you go watch one of his videos, and I would say, you know, he has great music, but his music, they have music videos, and I'd say the videos are like half of him, honestly. It's not just the
Because he makes
audio.
those too.
Yeah, he makes those too.
Okay.
And so that's what he does is he's even gone on a record being like, it's really musically talented, or it's a really like important skill to be able to, I'm paraphrasing, but it's a really important skill to be able to make cheery music about something sad or something dark. Not that everything that he sings about is sad or dark, but that's what he does. Yeah.
Okay.
So I just want to talk about 4 things that he's done. And the first is a video called History of the Entire World, comma, I guess, all in lowercase.
I think I watched that like in 8th grade social studies.
Really?
Yeah.
It has swearing in it.
Maybe I didn't.
Anyway, so what it is it's a 20-minute overview of the world, totally in his style. Fast-paced, really like simply explained and like goofy. It's not a teacher in front of a whiteboard. It's not even like Crash Course where it's like a guy in front of a desk like being funny and telling you about these things. It's so like weird and quirky and out of this world. It really is just him like explaining literally the entire history of the Earth as we know it, in the most Bill Wurtz way. You just have to watch it.
The whole thing feels like an inside joke that is for Bill Wurtz.
Yeah, exactly.
And because I mean, half of his jokes are only funny if you know the history.
Yeah, and a lot of his jokes are only funny because it's Bill Wurtz and that's his style. Yeah. And he's just kind of inviting you to take a look at how weird he is. Yeah. Really. And so yeah, it's super fast paced. And it was in like Polygon listed it as like their top 25 dumbest videos, like in like a funny, endearing way, like top 10 like dumb YouTube videos. It was like in the top 10 trending on YouTube.
I feel like everybody
saw the video. As of this month, as of recording this, it is at 170 million views.
Yeah.
Because it is just an entertaining video. Like I've been saying, Bill Wurtz is so unabashedly himself that you get, it's such a fun watch. It's such an interesting watch. And what is it? World history. Yeah, that's all it is, really.
Yeah.
At its core. But he makes it so himself. And I feel like that's a cool thing for an artist to do. I feel like a lot of artists are just trying to like take what they feel and express it in ways that already exist. And there's definitely nothing wrong with that. Lest you misunderstand me. But there's something really special about Bill Wurtz in the way that he just totally does his own thing, and it kind of helps you understand like where he's coming from and how he's dealing with things. So I want to talk about his two songs that kind of illustrate this, of him singing about intense things, like you said, but really in his style. And the first song I want to talk about is probably my favorite of his, is called La Di Da Di Da Di Da Di Deo.
That's what it's called?
That's the title of the song.
Oh.
It's called, in case you missed it, La Di Da Di Da Di Da Di Deo.
Oh.
Yeah. And so I have the lyrics here, and I just want to read a couple lines. It's a song about the desire. It's a song about desire and hope in a world that is unable to change. And I think that's what is on the Genius page of it. So the first verse is, he says, I don't have enough time to say the things I want to say, to do the things I want to do, or to be like you. I just want some time to express the things I feel, just to express the things I feel and believe them too.
Beautiful.
That's pretty beautiful. But you watch the video, and it's like super quirky, and there's all these fun colors and shapes and stuff. The next verse says, sorry, not the next verse. It's kind of it's a bridge. And he says, 2 + 2 has been 4 for so many darn years, oh Lord. I want to write a song. Oh baby, is that so wrong? So nonsensical, dry lyrics that are just kind of saying things as they are in really simple ways to this cheery music. But what they mean is, 2 + 2 has been 4 for so many darn years. He's saying, things have been the same way forever. And he just wants to write a song. He feels like there's so many things that he wants to do, so many things that he wants to say, but the world is the way that it is.
This is maybe a side question, but is he trained musically?
Yeah.
Like, does he know like these conventions?
Yeah. He actually talks about this. He did a video with Genius, their music channel on YouTube, and he talks about chord progressions. He talks about jazz standards. He's definitely trained.
Wow.
Yeah.
It doesn't come across that way.
It really doesn't. It's so nonsensical. He really is just saying like the most basic, like, sorry, Bill, dumb sounding stuff ever.
Which maybe it's because I'm a lyrics girl.
Yeah.
But because his music is obviously super catchy. Because if I listen to a song, it'll be in my head for a couple days, and I really have a fun time listening to his music. But I really thought that like his lyrics just didn't mean anything. And so when you said
me too.
That song was about hope, I was like, is it?
and that's kind of what I want to get at. Is I feel like with self-expression and with art, everybody's expecting if it's happy, then you need to be happy and like expressive and grand, and if you're somber, then you have to be dark and brooding. Edgar Allan Poe, suffering. And I just feel like there's so many different ways to express so many different things. And for Bill Wurtz, this desire he has to change, this desire he has to be free, this really kind of deep and existential thing he's expressing by saying dumb things with weird videos. And that's cool.
That's really cool. I may have drawn a really weird comparison in my head. Are you interested?
Yes.
Okay, something I was thinking about with my topic, Ivan the Terrible killing his son.
I love when our topics come together.
The two weirdest topics to relate. But I read something that said the reason why the painting is so like affecting is because Ivan is obviously upset over it.
Yeah.
And if you had painted him with like an angry expression and stuff, the painting would not nearly have been as powerful because, an angry person committing a horrific act, that's just, that's the trope. That's how it is. It's not that effective.
Exactly.
But if you have someone committing a horrendous act who's human, who's obviously hating it and stuff, that's something that's interesting.
Yeah, exactly.
And if we're looking at Bill Wurtz, if you have a nihilistic person writing is that nihilistic? I don't know.
Nihilistic, yeah.
A nihilistic person writing a nihilistic song, then you're like, oh yeah, the sad guy's at it again.
Oh yeah, bust out the slow piano in the rain.
But you have instead psychedelic, goofy, catchy,
stick
funny
figures, JPEGs of stock images,
writing nihilistic
neon
music.
colors, yeah.
And that's what makes this interesting.
It's so interesting.
Especially in our kind of society where a lot of the serious and scary things that are happening, like elections and wars and stuff, are memes now.
Hilarious memes, honestly. And I'm so glad you mentioned that because I'm going to talk about it later. But anyway, and then the chorus, he says, la di da di da di da di deo. La di da di, where did all the good times go? La di da di la da di dum da di la. I don't know. Obviously, I can't,
Yeah.
But he's I don't know. He's saying la di da di da di about to kind of convey this attitude of like, this is how I want to be, just kind of, fleeting and what's the word that I read when I was researching? Just kind of, I can't find the right word, but kind of just nonchalant, just kind of, oh, la, 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 like, And so it's so interesting.
Yeah.
And when I listened to the song, I didn't really think about any of this.
You're like, catchy song, good time.
Exactly. But there's a lot of double meanings in here. There's a lot of play on words. And it's so subtle.
Isn't one of the verses in this song about climate change?
That's a different song. Wait.
Okay.
That's his song. I think it's his song. I just might quit.
Oh.
Or maybe it's the song I'm about to talk about.
Either way.
Yeah, it's a different one, but yeah. What were you gonna say?
I'm just bringing that up. It's an intense subject, and there's a lot of things you can say about it. But if you're that's his attitude towards this la-di-da.
Yeah, exactly. Let's talk about someone on the brisk of dying in a horrible tragedy. In his song, Mount St. Helens is about to blow up. That's the title of the song. This is the very first line. Mount St. Helens is about to blow up, and it's going to be a fine, swell day.
Oh.
Isn't that crazy?
Jeez.
Everything's going to fall down to the ground and turn gray. All of my friends, family, and animals are probably going to run away. But me, I'm feeling curious, so I just might stay.
Huh.
Isn't that crazy? So, man, I love this song. Okay, so this song is about a man about to die and accepting death.
Jeez.
Yeah. And so the next verse, the Dow Jones just fell down to 0, and it's going to be a fine, swell day. And I wonder if it's going to be as good a day as yesterday. All these business suits that I've just purchased, going to have to throw them all away and slip into something more reasonable and dance the night away.
What the heck?
And then the bridge, I have to keep going because it's so crazy. I'm riding a pony into the sunset. Everything's green and gold, so I'm not in hell yet. And the people who work in my office went on vacation because they said that I haven't been paying them very much anymore. Mount St. Helens has a pretty cool gift shop, and I haven't been there in a while. And I'm wondering if it's even still there. And the climate... Oh, this is the part you're talking about.
Oh.
I thought it was a different song. And the climate has been changing, and soon it's going to change more. And we'll figure out all the details in climate change court.
Oh my gosh.
Should I just read the rest of the song?
Keep going.
Take a ride on my blimp. Oh, it's a very strong blimp. You can watch movies and play games while riding on it. When the sun goes down, when the sky burns out, we'll never slow down. We're not going down. Mount St. Helens is feeling crazy and adventurous. That's the reason that it's so special, and it takes no answers, and it gives no questions, and it makes no excuses, and it really doesn't listen, and it seems so eccentric, and it looks so active, and it dreams of puppies, and it's filled with music. That is the whole song.
Whoa, what in the world?
So it's really about this person who, in the face of disaster, in the face of these really horrible, serious, scary things, is like, it's going to be a great day.
Which I think some people do sarcastically and satirically, but the way that he puts it, he believes it.
It's totally real. And like, you got to listen to the song.
Because it's so fun.
It's so fun and it's so light. And then there's kind of a bit of a jazz elevator music beat at the bridge. And I just think it's so interesting how he talks about his blimp, which he puts in there. Bill Wurtz puts in there because it's a funny word. That's why he said blimp. But he has this blimp, a strong aircraft that he says is strong. And what does he say about it? You can play games. You can watch movies. So he's so focused on this kind of like materialistic, fleeting part of life in the wake of all these disasters going on, where on one hand it's kind of nihilistic to be like, everything's going to blow up and it's going to be a fine, swell day. And on the other hand, it's like, it's a little optimistic.
Yeah.
It's so crazy what he's doing.
I'm kind of like...
I'm giggling at this, thinking about it.
I'm giggling because it's kind of like a train of thought that I want to be on.
Yeah, right?
Which it seems like that he's a crazy person.
It seems like he's a crazy person, but the way things are right now in the world, I hate saying that, but like the way things are right now in the world, it's like, I want to think things are a fine, swell day.
Not in an ignorant way
Exactly.
or in a sarcastic way, but in a I genuinely believe it kind of way.
Yeah. And so I feel like you're kind of fighting between that in the song. You're like, is he being genuine or not genuine? Like, because he is being genuine, obviously, but is he being like, what did you just say before I started talking? I lost my train of thought.
I don't know. He genuinely believes it. It's not like sarcastic.
It's not ignorant.
Yeah.
Because you're kind of walking the fine line between, well, is he being ignorant and crazy and oblivious, or is he being like optimistic about it? He's definitely being genuine about. Anyway.
You don't see that kind of hope.
Yeah.
It doesn't. Maybe.
It's kind of so crazy and insane to believe that it just feels legitimate.
Maybe that's something wrong with us as the audience.
Yeah. Oh shoot. Frick. This guy has a green umbrella as his profile picture.
Yeah.
Dude, seriously.
I'm like, wait a second.
Dude, we're going. Oh, wow. All right.
Who knew Bill Wurtz had it in him?
So anyway, the thing that I'm trying to get at is that Bill Wurtz is expressing things in a super unconventional way, and it's so interesting.
I wonder what it is like. maybe you can say it in words that attracted all of us so heavily to his music. Like, why is he so popular?
Vine. Back in the day, he was on Vine.
Oh.
Have you seen that meme where it's like, oh, hi, thanks for checking in. I'm still a piece of garbage. That's Bill Wurtz. Bill Wurtz did that video. That's his style. And so I think because Bill Wurtz has this really like absurdist, really fast jokes, really simple jokes, he really taps into meme culture, especially at the time when he was on Vine. Because, road work ahead, I sure hope it does, that classic Vine. That's totally the same energy as, oh, hi, thanks for checking in. I'm still a piece of garbage. Short, insane, weird jokes. And that's, I think he scratched an itch that our generation and who were like dealing with meme culture, I think he scratched it. He scratched an itch we didn't know we had.
Well, if you think about the advent of Vine, I mean, the way that we shared like social like things was through text and then through image.
Yeah.
And then you can see it from like Twitter to Instagram and then to video.
Yeah.
And with the advent of Vine, you get to see a lot more audio coming into play.
Yeah.
And then you get trending sounds and stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that's maybe why he was so successful, because that's what he was good at. And so making these catchy little songs in a place where that hadn't been a thing before.
Yeah.
I can see why it just was super successful.
Yeah, he scratched an itch. That's what he did. He had this style, right place, right time, I think.
Yeah.
And so I think the exploration of a feeling, of a theme, of an idea can be done in many different ways. Whether it's, making an extremely harrowing painting and dealing with that and kind of forcing yourself to paint it, or saying little stupid, absurd things with funny graphics about really serious stuff.
Yeah. The art of expression.
The art of expression, and how different and diverse it can be.
And how good they both are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man.
Weird.
Do you think that that painter is in heaven right now and he's looking at us and he's like, I didn't think that I would be talked about in the same room as Bill Wurtz?
Yeah, he's probably like...
Do you think he's kind of pissed?
He's probably like mad.
Sorry. Keanu Reeves, I'm sorry.
What a weird... Well, I think it's also really cool that we can draw comparisons between such different forms of art in different mediums, in different eras.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so obvious that like you can express things in any way you want, but it doesn't feel like that, because it feels like there's only one way to do things sometimes with the way the internet is and how they tell you to do stuff.
If you're sad, you have to write poetry.
Exactly. And it's just so not true. It's so everything and anything all the time in a good way.
And I think that even speaks to the individualism of artists in general. Like, if you like making weird little YouTube videos, maybe you can make something really like poignant.
Yeah.
And if you like Russian history, maybe there's something there for you.
Yeah. It just all of this really just reminds me of like expression. It's and human expression being so beautiful, like we just talked about. But it's like it's Vincent van Gogh using bright colors and the way things feel to express his emotion and his torment. It's Bo Burnham locking himself in a room and using some lights and some cameras to talk about his, really weird journey and his existential stuff. And it's like, it's Toby Fox making Undertale and like expressing himself with like this little RPG game that has like some of the best writing I've ever seen in my life. I love expression. It's beautiful. I know you're kind of saying that earlier, but I had to throw in those examples.
Great examples.
Thanks.
Keep creating.
Keep creating. Dude, it's so good for you to express yourself.
Very good for us audience members.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Brick. Bye?
Bye.